The day of my father's will reading started like any other at Harrison and Associates law firm. Leather chairs, mahogany tables, and the distinct scent of old money that permeated the air. I sat quietly, my black dress still wrinkled from the funeral, while my brother Michael lounged in his Italian suit, radiating confidence. I had spent the last week in a fog of grief, barely eating, barely sleeping. My father, brilliant entrepreneur, dedicated parent, my biggest supporter, was gone. Meanwhile, Michael had spent that same week throwing parties at his penthouse, celebrating his upcoming promotion as he called it. "Let's begin," Mr. Harrison said, adjusting his reading glasses. The elderly lawyer had handled our family's legal affairs for 30 years. He unfolded a document, cleared his throat, and started reading. "I, James William Porter, being of sound mind." I tried to focus on the words, but my mind kept drifting to my last conversation with Dad. It was just 3 weeks ago, over dinner at his favorite steakhouse. "Emma," he had said, his eyes twinkling despite his illness, "I've watched you build your consulting business from scratch. No handouts, no favors. Just pure determination. You remind me so much of myself at your age." He had reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "I've made arrangements. Everything's taken care of. You'll be able to expand your business, help more people. Just promise me you'll keep building, keep growing." I had promised, tears in my eyes, not knowing those would be our last moments together. Mr. Harrison's voice snapped me back to reality. "And to my daughter Emma Porter, I leave." He stopped abruptly, frowning at the paper. Something flickered across his face, confusion, then concern. "This can't be right," he muttered, shuffling through the papers. Michael leaned forward, his smile sharp as a razor. "Is there a problem?" "According to this document," Mr. Harrison said slowly, "the entire estate, including Porter Enterprises and all associated assets, approximately valued at $12 million, is to be transferred solely to Michael Porter." The room started spinning. "That's impossible," I whispered. "The document clearly states," Michael cut in smoothly, "that Dad believed I was the only one capable of running his legacy." He pulled out a folded paper from his breast pocket. "I have a copy right here, if he'd like to verify." Mr. Harrison accepted the paper, comparing it to his own. "The signatures match, but what?" Michael challenged. "Everything's in order, unless you're suggesting our father wasn't of sound mind." I stared at my brother, the stranger wearing designer clothes and a triumphant smirk. "Dad would never do this," I said. "He told me himself he'd made arrangements." Michael's laugh cut through the air like broken glass. "Oh, sweet knave Emma. Always Daddy's little girl, weren't you? Did you really think he'd trust his life's work to someone who plays with spreadsheets in a tiny office? You don't deserve this inheritance. You never did." "Michael," Mr. Harrison interjected, "your sister's consulting firm has shown remarkable growth." "A consulting firm?" Michael scoffed. "Please, she helps small businesses with their accounting. It's glorified bookkeeping. Porter Enterprises needs a real leader." I sat there, numb, as Mr. Harrison continued reading the details. Every property, every account, every share of the company, all going to Michael. Even Dad's vintage car collection, which he and I had restored together during my teenage years. When the reading finished, Michael stood up, buttoning his jacket. "Well, this has been enlightening. Emma, I'll need you to clear out your office at Porter Enterprises by the end of the week. Can't have former employees hanging around, bad for morale." I had been working part-time at our father's company since college, learning the business from the ground up while building my own firm. Now Michael was erasing that too. "Mr. Harrison," I said quietly, "may I see the will?" The lawyer handed it over, sympathy in his eyes. The signature looked perfect, every loop, every curve exactly like Dad's. But something felt wrong. The words weren't his style, the tone too formal, too cold. "One more thing," Michael announced from the doorway. "I'm selling the lake house." My head snapped up. "You can't. Mom loved that house. Dad promised he'd never sell it." "Dad's not here anymore, is he?" Michael's smile was cruel. "And technically, it's my house now. I'm thinking of turning it into a private club. Much better investment than keeping it as some sort of shrine." He walked out, leaving me alone with Mr. Harrison in the suddenly too quiet office. "Emma," the lawyer said gently, "something isn't right here. Your father discussed his plans with me several times over the years. This will. It contradicts everything he ever said. I ran my fingers over the signature, remembering all the times I'd watched Dad sign documents in his office. The signature's perfect, I murmured. Too perfect. Mr. Harrison leaned forward. What do you mean? Dad's hands shook in his final months. The medication made it worse. This signature, I traced the smooth lines. There's no tremor. Not even a slight one. The lawyer's eyes widened. Are you suggesting? I need to make some calls, I said, standing up. And I need copies of every document Michael submitted since Dad got sick. That night, I sat in my apartment, my sanctuary away from the Porter family drama, surrounded by papers. Business records, bank statements, correspondence. I was looking for a pattern, a clue, anything that would explain how my brother had managed to steal my inheritance. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Cleaning crew comes to your office tomorrow. Better hurry if you want to keep your little plants. I ignored it, focusing instead on my laptop screen. Something caught my eye, a string of large transfers from Porter Enterprises to offshore accounts, all within the last 3 months. The amounts were carefully structured to avoid immediate suspicion, but together they painted a disturbing picture. My brother hadn't just stolen my inheritance. He'd been embezzling from the company for months, possibly years. A plan began forming in my mind. I thought about my consulting firm, about the connections I'd built, the trust I'd earned in the business community. Michael saw it as glorified bookkeeping, but what he didn't understand was that I had access to something he never would, the loyalty of small business owners who formed the backbone of our city's economy. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. David, it's Emma Porter. Remember that investment opportunity we discussed? I'm ready to move forward. But first, I need your help with something. The game was about to change, and Michael had no idea what was coming. 5 years passed like a whirlwind. While Michael paraded around the city as Porter Enterprises' new CEO, I worked silently, methodically, building something he could never imagine. The day everything changed started with a phone call. Miss Porter? My assistant's voice was tinged with amusement. Your brother is here for his interview. I smiled, remembering Michael's desperate email from last week. He'd applied to Phoenix Consulting Group, my company, not knowing I was the founder and CEO. After running Porter Enterprises into the ground, he was now begging for a job at what had become one of the city's most successful firms. Send him in, I said, turning my chair to face the floor-to-ceiling windows. And Lisa? Make sure the security team is recording. The door opened. I heard his footsteps, no longer confident strides in Italian leather shoes, but hesitant steps in what sounded like department store loafers. Please take a seat, I said, still facing the windows. Thank you for seeing me. Michael's voice had lost its arrogant edge. I've heard incredible things about Phoenix Consulting. Your growth over the past 5 years is unprecedented. I slowly turned my chair around. The look on his face was worth every second of the past 5 years. Hello, Michael. He nearly fell out of his chair. Emma? What? How? Surprised to see your glorified bookkeeper sister running a $200 million company? I asked pleasantly. His face went through a series of emotions: shock, confusion, anger, fear. This is impossible. Phoenix Consulting Group is mine, I finished. Built from scratch after you stole my inheritance. Ironic, isn't it? You thought Dad's company was the prize. But I built something worth far more. He tried to recover, straightening his cheap tie. Well, this is wonderful. Families should stick together. I always knew you had potential. Save it, I cut him off. Let's talk about why you're really here. Porter Enterprises is failing, isn't it? The offshore accounts are empty. The investors are asking questions. The color drained from his face. How did you? I opened a folder on my desk. 5 years ago, you thought you were so clever with your forged will and embezzled funds. But you forgot one thing. I'm actually good with numbers. I laid out documents one by one. Bank transfers, forged signatures, proof of systematic fraud. While you were busy playing CEO, I was building a network of the city's most influential small business owners. People you considered beneath you. They trusted me with their books, their secrets, their connections. And they were happy to help when I asked them to keep an eye on Porter Enterprises transactions. Michael slumped in his chair. What do you want? Want? I laughed. I don't want anything from you. but the SEC might be interested in these documents, and the police will definitely want to talk about Dad's forged will. You can't prove anything, he said, but his voice shook. I pressed a button on my desk phone. Mr. Harrison, would you join us? The door opened, and our father's old lawyer walked in, carrying a briefcase. Actually, she can prove everything, Mr. Harrison said. I've spent 5 years gathering evidence. Your father suspected you were embezzling. That's why he changed his will 2 weeks before he died. The real will, not your forged version. He pulled out a document. This is the authentic will, signed and notarized at the hospital. I kept it safe until Emma had built enough protection around herself. Your father left the company to both of you equally, but with a condition. Emma would have controlling interest because he trusted her judgment. Michael lunged for the document, but security was faster. 2 guards appeared instantly, their presence commanding respect. Don't embarrass yourself further, I said quietly. It's over. You've ruined everything, he spat. You and Dad never understood. I deserve that company. No, Michael. You deserve this moment, watching everything crumble because of your own greed. Dad knew exactly what you were. That's why he made arrangements to protect his legacy from you. I stood up, smoothing my designer dress, worth more than Michael's entire outfit. The SEC will be here in 20 minutes. I suggest you use that time to decide how cooperative you want to be. You can't do this. I'm your brother. You stopped being my brother the day you forged Dad's will. Family isn't about blood, Michael. It's about trust, respect, and integrity, 3 things you never understood. As security escorted him out, I turned to Mr. Harrison. Thank you for everything. He smiled warmly. Your father would be so proud, Emma, not just of your success, but of how you achieved it, through hard work and integrity. Later that evening, I drove to the lake house, my lake house now, the property reclaimed along with everything else Michael had stolen. The sunset painted the water in shades of gold, just like when Mom was alive. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Porter Enterprises heir arrested for fraud. Phoenix Consulting Group CEO reveals family drama behind business success. Emma Porter, from disinherited daughter to business empire builder. I smiled, remembering Dad's words. Keep building, keep growing. I had kept my promise, but in my own way. Instead of inheriting a legacy, I had built one. The next morning, I walked into my office to find it buzzing with energy. Our latest acquisition, Porter Enterprises, would need restructuring. The company Dad built would survive, but under new leadership guided by the values he had taught me. On my desk, I found an old photo of Dad and me working on his vintage Mustang. Behind it stood my team, the family I had chosen, people who shared my vision and values. Ready for the board meeting? Lisa asked, tablet in hand. I looked around at the empire I had built, so much greater than the inheritance I had lost. More than ready. Michael's arrest made headlines for weeks. The evidence was overwhelming, not just the forged will and embezzlement, but years of fraud and deception. He faced significant prison time. But my focus was on the future. Phoenix Consulting Group continued to grow, now helping businesses across the country. The lake house became a retreat for employees and their families, and Dad's vintage car collection, restored to its former glory, each car a reminder of the lessons he taught me. 1 year later, I received a letter from Michael, written from prison. He begged for forgiveness, for a job when he got out, for another chance at being family. I wrote a simple response. The greatest inheritance Dad left wasn't his money or his company. It was his integrity. That's something you can't steal, and something you never understood. Good luck with your rehabilitation. Today, Phoenix Consulting Group is valued at over $500 million. The story of how I built it, after losing my inheritance to a greedy brother, has become a legend in business circles. But the real victory isn't in the numbers. It's in the legacy I built, the people I've helped, and the values I've upheld. Sometimes, losing an inheritance is just the push you need to build something far greater than what you lost. Dad always said success wasn't about what you were given, but what you built with your own hands. Looking at my empire now, I know he was right. Michael may have stolen my inheritance, but he inadvertently pushed me to create something far more valuable, a legacy of my own. And that's something no one can ever take away.